Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Filmmakers Podcast. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking from indie film to studio films and everything in between, how to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to royally F it up, in our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. I'm a writer and director. I'm currently in post on sessions. I'm having a test screenings this week, which is frightening and exciting at the same time. Oh, more on that very soon. Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. If you're here for the first time, thank you for joining us. If you're here for the 500th time and you've listened every single week, you are heroes. And thank you very much for that. This is the show that takes you behind the scenes of how to make feature films and TV. And this week, we are privileged to welcome the brilliant creative team behind Brides, an urgent and empathetic feature film that tackles one of the most complex and heartbreaking social issues of our time. First we welcome our Oscar-nominated producer, Nicky Bentham. This is her second time being on the podcast. She is known for critically acclaimed and diverse films like the sci-fi hit Moon, starring Sam Rockwell, the drama The Duke, the comedy drama, I would probably say, The Duke with Jim Broadbent and Helen Mirren, and the Oscar-nominated short film The After. Joining her is the film's celebrated screenwriter, Suhayla El-Bushra. She's a renowned playwright and television writer with credits including the TV series Ackley Bridge and a stage adaptation of The Suicide for the National Theatre. Suhayla is the precise and compassionate writer who penned this complex story of Brides. Brides is a film inspired by real-life events. It follows two disillusioned teenage best friends, Doe and Munya, as they run away from their troubled lives in the UK, making a perilous journey towards Syria. It is an emotional and thought-provoking road drama that stands for empathy and understanding, exploring the vulnerability and desperation that drives marginalised young women and men to seek identity and belonging in radical choices. This film challenges dominant narratives, insisting that we look at the choices of young people through the lens of compassion rather than condemnation. So, I hope you're strapping in. I hope you're feeling good, because myself and Dom Lenoir sat down for this gripping chat to discuss this vital film, Brides. It is out in cinemas today, Friday the 26th of September in the UK. Please go support. You know what to do. And as you know, my produced feature, Dirty Boy, has been screening around the UK, in cinemas around the UK and in the USA right now. And this coming Monday, we are screening in Soho at All Is Joy. Monday evening, this Monday the 29th. If you're around and available, drop me a DM on Instagram at Giles Alderson and I'll get you a discounted ticket. How does that sound? This is a fantastic film. It's a cult film. It's really deep and interesting and has got a lot to say. And it's also a lot of fun too. It's called Dirty Boy. It's directed by Doug Rao. It stars Graham McTavish, Stan Steenbickler, and many, many other brilliant upcoming talents. So if you're around Monday evening and you fancy coming out in Soho, then like I say, drop me a DM at Giles Alderson. More on Dirty Boy coming up soon. Right, here we go. This is the latest episode of the Filmmakers Podcast with myself, Dom Lenoir, Nicky Bentham, and Suhayla El-Bushra. Enjoy.
Hey.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
How
are you doing?
Good to see you.
How are you?
Very good. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Hey,
This is
lovely to
Helen.
meet you. Pleasure, Dom.
Hello.
Hey, have a seat. You get the special green mic.
Grab it.
Coming here and sort of doing...
Nice stroll around the park.
Yeah, I had a stroll from the park here. Beautiful, isn't it?
Okay, we're at a top secret location. We cannot disclose it, but it's very nice, and there's some great film iconography kicking around.
Yeah.
So
Suhayla and Nicky, thank you for joining us. Welcome back to the Filmmakers Podcast. Nicky, welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast. Suhayla.
Hello.
Hello.
Thanks very much for having us.
Absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
how are you both doing?
Yeah.
How's everything going?
Great. We're sort of just having quite a busy week in the run-up to the release of Brides this Friday.
Yes.
And so we've been doing a bit of Qing and Aing and just very excited to see all the posters up on the Tube and the Jumbotron in Leicester Square. It's quite fun.
Yeah, it's quite fun.
That's a big moment, right? Seeing that in Leicester Square.
It's pretty huge, actually. Overwhelming. Was it? And really hard to take a photo of yourself in front of it.
Yeah, because you can't.
Which is frustrating.
Yeah, it's the wrong kind of dimension. Where do you put yourself? Where do you put your head?
We kind of all need to go together and really stage it properly, don't we?
Arrange a photo
before
shoot
it's gone.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, that sounds really fun. Yeah, so you've got 80. How many cinemas across the UK from Friday?
It's in 89 cinemas. Yeah.
Wow.
Which is obviously really great for an independent film to be across the country. And the opening weekend is really, it's really nice because it feels like it's a film that we wanted to engage young people and people across the breadth of the UK. And so, hopefully this means that they'll be able to see it not too far away from where they are.
Does that help in terms of the programming side? Because I work a lot on sort of cinema releases, and I think more and more independent films should do a cinema release if they can. But it's very hard to get into cinemas, especially if you're an independent film, especially if you haven't got sort of a certain level of A-list cast, inverted commas, not that counts for anything. And it's a really difficult thing to do. Like, do you think the conversation starter element of this story has helped with that, or has it still been a bit of a challenge to get into quite an impressive number of screens?
Well, I think there's probably two separate sides of that. The first answer is that our distributor in the UK is Vue Lumiere, and we're their first distribution title, and most people know Vue as the
Big
exhibitors.
Chain,
and they have the largest market share of cinemas in the UK, so that's how most people know them. And so it's really exciting to be their first distribution title. And it's really exciting that there's a new distributor in the UK that is excited about independent film. I mean, that's exactly what we need, is putting independent films into cinemas. So the fact that we have the might of Vue behind our little film is a huge plus. I think means that, it is also in picture houses and Curzon and lots of independent and some Cineworlds and some independent sites as well. So it's definitely getting out there, but I think that that's been a huge advantage. And then in terms of the timing, Suhayla?
I don't know how much of that was like a planned thing. As far as I'm concerned, I just think it's brilliant and much needed to get independent films in big cinema houses, because it's so frustrating, especially if you don't live in London. You can't see that many films, I've only got Picture House where I live, and actually they sort of, at the moment, they kind of tend to show a lot of the mainstream films. So I think to get the sort of independent films that actually we all really want to see, everybody wants to see in those much bigger cinemas is really wonderful.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been into so many cinemas where they're like, we're not going to program an independent film. We've got all these big ones, and then you go in to actually visit the cinema, and there's like 5 people in a mainstream film. There's 6 people, and as an independent film, when you've got something new to say or something exciting, you can easily fill up a lot bigger numbers than that. But there's a sort of initial reluctance. So it is great because people I think are bored of some of the status quo of like the big films, and they want to see interesting drama stories. And
I think so. And I think, this film is about teenage girls. It's about teenage girls from, of Muslim heritage or from immigrant families, and to not kind of meet them with a story about them, to not offer that to them in the places where they might go to the cinema feels really unfair.
It does. And that's why I think it's so lovely that this story is here and it is happening, it is in cinemas, and the reviews you've been getting are fantastic as well, which must always feel so nice, because you never know, right? You never know what's coming when you first set out on this journey. How long ago was it when you first started thinking about this as a project? Who was first? Suhayla, was it your side? Nicky, was it
Symbiotic?
Symbiotic.
Was it?
So we'd known it. We go back a long way. We met many, many years ago. On Guiding Lights film mentoring program.
Okay.
We were both mentees.
Right.
Nicky had already produced a film. She'd already produced Moon, so she was the coolest person
in the room. Because Moon is amazing.
Yeah,
everyone knows
exactly.
Moon is amazing. If you've not seen Moon, go see Moon. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Super good.
And then go see Brides.
And then, obviously...
I need to rewatch it, actually. It's been a long time.
It's very good. Sam Rockwell, super.
And then we had a chat. I think she'd just had a baby, and then she'd not long after that gone to see AC/DC. And I was telling her that after I had my first child, I'd gone to see Iggy Pop. We had like a little bond over it, I think.
I was actually pregnant at the ACD, heavily pregnant at ACDC.
Yeah. I knew there was some sort of fecundity.
That could have caused the sort of, the baby to go, do you know what? It's time to...
I'm ready for the world now.
Yes. And so you'd met there, so you were always on each other's radar to sort of say, hey, let's do something or let's talk about projects. Can you remember the moment for this where it really cemented itself? What was that moment?
Well, with this particular project, I mean, what happened was that Suhayla was working with Nadia Fall, our director, on a play at the National Theatre. It was a play called The Suicide, which was a comedy.
It was a comedy. Hasten to add.
A suicide, a comedy in brackets, right? Yeah.
And they got on really, really well. And around that time, were approached by Film 4 and a few other people kind of saying to them, have you thought about doing something for the screen? And so they were talking about maybe doing a short film, and Suhayla got in touch with me and said, would you be interested in doing it? So this is back in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is back in 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
And despite the fact that I desperately wanted to work with Suhayla, I was really busy at the time. And I didn't have time to sort of take on a short film, but I agreed to meet with Nadia, and I had a really nice lunch with her. And she sort of, in a similar way to Suhayla, is very disarmingly funny, and sort of managed to kind of persuade me that I should actually consider working with them on this short. But also in that meeting, she mentioned that they had an idea about writing something kind of unexpected and from a different perspective about the about what was kind of called the ISIS brides. And in particular at that time, there was a lot in the press, which there still is today, about the teenagers who'd run away from East London and made that actual journey. So I thought, that sounds really interesting.
So at that stage, what was your level of thinking about what the script and the story would be before you sort of pitched it to Nicky? I mean, was it sort of like a couple of sentences? Was it more of a fully formed, had you been sort of thinking about pitching decks and that kind of thing? Or was it just like the conception of idea?
No, it wasn't fully formed at all. It was, although Nadia kind of slightly embellished how developed it was, I think.
Nice,
but it was, I'd just watched a documentary about various girls, actually, not just the ones that we knew about that had gone, that were in the news, Shamima Begum and her friends, but about other girls as well. And I was so struck by the world in which they lived online and the language they used and how girly and teenage they were. And there was something very seductive about it. And I've written about teenage girls before and teenage friendships, so I really was drawn to it. And I'd talked to Nadia about it, and all we'd said was it would be good. And we didn't want to do 4 lions for teenage girls, but it was like, but I kind of felt like there was a sort of perhaps slightly comedic way of looking at this story. And we both felt really strongly that we didn't want the white men to have the last word in Islamic radicalization. Right. We felt like there was room for us to step in and tell the story from within. So that was kind of where we were with it. And then obviously, because Nicky came on board, it sort of pushed me into developing it more.
So you had to do it then.
Yeah, I had to do it then. Which is good. Now. I need that. I need that in my life.
I think that's really important for anyone. I think any filmmaker, anyone, is like someone saying, okay, I'm involved. Oh, Well, and can you get me, whether it's a pitch deck or the full treatment or a scriptment, whatever, suddenly you have to do it. And that's really great for anyone. Deadlines are really useful.
Accountability, a bouncing springboard.
Yes, all that.
Really, really helpful for the momentum, isn't it?
Yes. There's a moment, can you remember the moment for you, Nicky, where you sort of went, yes, okay, this is what I feel I can do with this project? Was there a specific moment, or was it a case of, let's see if we can develop this into something? Did you have an idea of where it would go at that point?
Yeah, I mean, we had, we talked about it a lot. And so we had some ideas. And I think that what drew me to it was just the idea of writing or talking about a story that you think you know, but sort of putting a different lens on it and letting it kind of unravel in an unexpected way. And I knew, because of who Suhayla and Nadia are, that they would deal with it with an incredible amount of sensitivity and nuance, but also that they would be able to bring warmth and humour to a subject matter that most people would not expect to find there. And so I just thought that it was kind of the combination of all those things that was really interesting to me. And I think that we, had to do a lot of research and a lot of talking and take a lot of time to put it together really carefully. So there was never kind of a moment where, it didn't sort of just appear fully formed. It was really a seed of an idea that we nurtured very carefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we did do one early treatment, which I think there were 4 girls and they went off, and it was a bit slightly more comedic, and actually it was just not enough to get into the depth of it. And so we were like, no, it has to be 2, really has to just be 2 girls. And then so it was just trying to work out how you would tell that story with just 2 girls and how you would kind of really understand them. And I spent a lot of time working out their backstories, a huge amount of time on that first. And then we spent a lot of time thinking about the structure and how to tell it, how to tell that story, taking into account where they'd come from, but also where they were going, and for it to feel kind of live and in the moment as well. So yeah, it was a lot of thinking and a lot of care.
In terms of like how you built the characters, because obviously you're sort of working with real people, what was the sort of discussions about I mean, you sort of mentioned the structure, like where to start the story, like how did you sort of arrive on that point, and also the balance of sort of making characters that are at times very likable, but obviously you've got a very difficult, challenging story, as you've mentioned, and sort of finding that balance where it's something that people can engage with and empathize at times and not be sort of alienated, but also be true to the story, but not a documentary. I mean, can you just talk about navigating from both sides of the creative process?
I mean, I just dived into the characters, and I feel like I know teenage girls quite well because I used to teach.
I thought you were going to say because I used to be a teenage girl.
And also, the next thing I was going to say is because I used to be, but also I feel like I've never really grown up, and I'm kind of stuck. I'm sort of stuck at being at that age.
But we should be as creatives, right?
Yeah.
Why should we let go of the fun stuff and the good stuff?
I've definitely...
Life's hard enough.
So I think worrying about whether they're likable or not was not really something that entered into my head. I think I was just in with them, and they were who they were. Without judging them, actually. I think that's really important.
Yeah, definitely.
And I did research and reading, and I looked at case studies. I didn't want to base it on anyone in particular. I think we made that decision quite early on because, number one, all of those people had gone and there was no way of talking to them. So you'd be making stuff up anyway.
Yes.
And it also felt like if you were saying this is a true story, then you're saying this is what it was like for everybody who went.
And it wasn't.
No.
Exactly.
No, everybody was so different, and all their reasons for going were so different. So it felt like they actually had to feel very idiosyncratic and not like the typical girls who went on that journey, which gave me a lot of creative freedom actually to go, I don't need to worry too much about that. And there were details that were very useful from the other stories to put in when you needed to kind of just make it feel real, but actually those girls themselves were completely fictional.
And just in terms of where we structurally how we kind of navigated it. Something we were really clear on from the beginning is that we just wanted to meet them as teenage girls, not as victims, not as villains, but just as your kind of average, goofy teenage girl who is probably, who's got a best friend that they would do anything for, who's probably likely to make really foolish, impulsive decisions and be sort of silly and funny and moody and all of those things that we kind of remembered. So we kind of knew pretty early on, we knew where we were starting and where we were ending. And it was just with the girls being teenagers. So yeah.
Which is why it works, I think, so well, because you dive into their lives and you like them. And it's quite interesting for me because I didn't know too much about it before I went in. I wasn't aware of, I just got the screener, so I watched it and I went, oh, it was only sort of halfway through. I went, oh, that's what it's about. And I found that really interesting for me because normally I'll read all the blurb and everything before, but I didn't have time. So I went straight into the screener and so I was like, okay, where's this going? Where was this? Oh, that's the story. And it was really nice for me to sort of like these girls and follow their story with no judgments, nothing else in my mind apart from where they were going and who they were at that point, and trying to work out what the little flashbacks and what was happening. It was really, really interesting. And I think it put in a totally different slant for me. I think it might be obviously audiences are going in sort of knowing, maybe, or maybe not. And I think that's, you can't help it these days, but see a trailer or read something before, I want to see that because.
Yeah.
But for me, it was wonderful to not know. I loved it. I loved the fact that it took me on that journey first. It was like, oh, okay, this is where this is going. This is interesting. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing is that we wanted to, I think a lot of people know about those girls, and actually there were young boys and there were people from all different countries and all different backgrounds that actually made that journey, but people know about them as headlines.
It's true. And
we really wanted to look at them before they became just that kind of tabloid fodder.
That was the one thing that kept pushing us to keep telling this story, because I mean I would get cold feet every now and again and be like, I'm not, because I was like, number one, I think we both felt like, we shouldn't be, we should be telling stories about the Muslim community, which is celebratory and don't equate Muslims with terrorists. But it just felt like the girls in the press, the headlines were so vilified and nobody was really talking about the real reasons why they might have left. It was like, well, because they're evil or because they're victims. And it's like, no, there's actually something that's happening to all brown girls actually in this country. There's so many different reasons, so many different pressures they're under, so many different push and pull factors. Even if you don't end up making that journey, there are kernels of that experience that we can all relate to, and nobody's really thinking about that, and nobody's telling this story from their point of view. And the more people had opinions about Shamima Begum, who kept reappearing in the news all the time, the more nobody was saying the stuff that we wanted to say. And by the end of it, we really had to tell the story because we had so much that we couldn't kind of keep inside any longer. So that was the thing that really pushed us to keep going.
I think that's what sort of kept me really compelled throughout, is the fact that they are two girls that you can completely imagine knowing. You might know friends that are similar to that, and just going into the like, how could this possibly happen, and realizing that it's not some kind of demonic great act. It's actually just sometimes human failings or some kind of societal rejection, and it's a very in a way like mundane set of reasons that might lead to these kind of catastrophic kind of realities.
Yeah, and it felt like in fact there were sort of a whole host of different reasons, but also as a 15-year-old child, sometimes you don't really need that many reasons to just make bad decisions make impulsive decisions, when you kind of think that you are grown up enough to be responsible for your own life and that you kind of know it all. But actually, you know, that's the other thing that we realize, that these girls at this time, there's no way that they could have known what they were getting themselves into. I mean, this was sort of before we'd heard all the reports of people who'd managed to survive it.
2014. So you know, one of the first waves of young people, among the first waves of young people who'd started to make that journey. So there was there wasn't as much information, I think, as perhaps later.
Yeah, and especially for the people going through it. I mean, that was another thing that really struck me, was just their expectation of what was going to happen versus what the reality probably was. And that was probably one of the more shocking kind of afterthoughts that really stuck with me after the movie.
And you know, not really thinking about what you're going to, because that's what the teenage brain is like, isn't it? I mean, you know, even if you did have some information, you probably would have just ignored it.
You thought that's over there.
They don't know it.
I won't
know
get
better.
that. I'll get the lovely side. You'll get the different side. So
not
interesting.
Not how those brains work. Just impulsive and reckless. It's, you know, it's chemical.
I want to talk a little bit more about you saying our thought processes on when we're making something, and how sometimes we can get cold feet. Like, we always go when we're writing something or producing something or creating something, we go through this period going, I love this. This is the best thing in the world. Oh my God, I hate it. I love it again. I hate it. And we can't help but go through these stages. What was it? And again, I know what sort of pulled you through here, but in other situations or other times when you're writing something or producing something, when you go through that, what is it that makes you stick to something, regardless of the topic matter, that makes you push through? And why projects get made sometimes is usually because of our fight and desire. But maybe you could just touch on, for the two of you, what it is, any of your projects where you've gone through those times and why it is you think you've pushed through.
I feel like at this moment I need to just invoke our director, Nadia Fall, because she always says, she's very sad that she can't be here with us, but she always says that one of the biggest things we have to get over as artists is ourselves. And so sometimes, like, you just need to get out of your own way and believe in, you know, your vision and what it is that you set out to do. So I think that's a really good one that I try and remember. But
that's brilliant.
I think a big thing is collaboration, and I think it's the people that you're on the journey with. And, you know, once Nadia and Suhayla had been so courageous in diving into this story and really sort of holding, putting a microscope onto their own communities and their, you know, some of their own experiences. I mean, not literally, but, you know, as inspiration for the story. But, you know, they'd done that job and sort of, you know, in a way kind of handed the baton over to me. And so, of course, I had to then carry on and do my part, no matter how difficult and challenging that proved to be. It's like we were in it together. So I think that when you have a team and you know you're all working to the same goal, that's really invaluable.
Yeah, I think teamwork on filmmaking is one of the most important things, and that's what pushes you through. If you've got that amazing team, you might have a wobble, but the other people are like, no, what are you talking about? And then you just pick them up when they're feeling down or having the little wobble as well. And that's part of that teamwork, which can happen so brilliantly in film, and also make things fall apart when it doesn't work as well. Suhayla, for you?
Definitely. I feel like with this project, in particular, having Nadia and Nicky there going, no, you're doing the right thing. Don't doubt yourself, was really, really important. And it's the kind of topic that I probably could have quite easily been dissuaded by if I had people giving me the wrong notes. And I think we did have some strange notes from well-meaning people.
We always get.
And I might have worried about, am I offending people? Am I saying the wrong thing?
Yeah.
And I think Nicky and Nadia are both like, no, this is the right thing. We are right to be saying this. And that was just really, really good for me, because I didn't, I held my nerve, I suppose, during the writing of it. And because we all wanted to say the same thing, and because also they understood what it was that I wanted to say, they were like, no, you go and keep saying the thing that you set out to say. And that is so rare. Collaboration is a wonderful thing, but it's not always that it doesn't always go that smoothly. So I think to have that belief, to be all on the same page in the first instance, and for nobody to waver from that, I think everybody who came on board subsequently, our other producers, our editor, our cinematographer, our cast, every single person who came on, I think really got what we were trying to do. And I think because of that, we all believed in what we were saying, and we all believed the same thing, and that really, really helped on this project.
So once you got to the stage of all working as a really great team, and you've got sort of the script and the idea, I mean, what were some of the challenges of actually then saying, okay, what's the budget of this going to be? Where are we going to shoot it? How are we going to do the casting? What's the marketplace? And is that going to be a challenge because of, X, Y, and Z, what it's about? I mean, how did that sort of develop? Because obviously it sounds like you've got a really nice tight-knit team, but then you've still got, a film that you've got to finance and find a home for.
Yeah, sure. Well, so I mean, the whole time that we were developing the project, and I was saying to Suhayla, keep going. It's gonna be great. I was also going,
it's gonna be great.
How are we actually gonna make this? But I realised, we had the BFI support the development of the project, and so we were very fortunate to have their support from early on.
Did that come about because you pitched something to them early? So
yeah, we went in with a treatment. We applied through the regular portal that you sort of upload everything to, and at that point we had a treatment.
Yes.
Yeah. And so then they supported the writing of the draft, and so it was great to know that we had their support through that process, and we kind of hoped that if we delivered on our promise that they would support us into production as well. But I knew pretty early on that we were going to be looking to cast the film authentically, which means finding two young women from quite specific backgrounds, and that it was really unlikely that those two stars were going to be known in the marketplace, and were therefore going to have kind of any value in helping us to raise the budget of the film. So I knew that we were going to be relying quite heavily on public funding and incentives, and that the UK alone and what the BFI could contribute wouldn't be enough to raise the whole budget. And also I knew at this point that half the film is a road trip set abroad, and so we were going to have to be going elsewhere. So it seemed like a really natural fit for co-production.
Yeah.
And I sort of started the process of researching, and because I hadn't done an official co-production before, I applied to a scheme called ACE, for international or mostly European but producers network. And yeah. And I got onto the scheme. You have to apply with a project that you want to do a co-production for, and I got onto the scheme and met a load of incredible European producers, and sort of did a kind of crash course in figuring out how I could set it up. And I also met my eventual co-producer, Marika Stocci from Rosamont in Rome, and
sorry, I do.
And she came on board and pitched herself essentially, because she loved the project and also felt like there were a lot of options in Italy for national, regional funding, as well as the incentives, and also kind of a real range of locations that she could suggest that we could film in.
So is it a sort of a balance of looking for a brilliant producing partner that sort of gets the story and knows the location, but also the costs of production and the tax credits? Was that sort of going through the mind, or was it? Yeah, I mean, just were there other areas that were also in contention other than Rome?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we didn't actually film in Rome, so we filmed in Sicily.
Yeah.
But
Sicily's fantastic.
Yeah. And we did a few days. We did 5 days in Istanbul, so we could kind of get the key locations that we needed to sell it. And then we also, I mean, on the UK side, we were still falling a little bit short. And so we did a regional co-production with Wales and brought in Productions in Cardiff. And so the UK portion, we shot just outside around Cardiff, basically. Wow. And then went and did a few days in Istanbul and then went to Sicily for the rest of the road trip portion. And I think that apart from the, the financial and the practical elements, we also, as part of our research, we, Nadia, Suhayla and I went to Istanbul and basically retraced the steps of we did the journey. We didn't go literally all the way to Syria, but we did sort of a large portion of that journey.
We went to Konya, which I found when I was just writing the first draft of the script. I was trying to find somewhere that they could go en route, where there would be an amusement park of some sort, and it was Konya, and it's also where Rumi's tomb is. So it was this incredible combination of like sort of childhood, the lovely childhood scene, the scenes that you get with the kids there, and also the sort of contemplative stuff in Rumi's tomb. And we went to have a look around there, and it was really beautiful, wasn't it? And I could picture it actually being somewhere where Doe would, because that's where she goes, and I think that's where she's kind of closest to the belonging to an Islamic community that she craves, like the genuine one. And if only she could stay there. But unfortunately
that was a sort of a very bittersweet sort of section of the film, which really
very touching,
really touching.
At that point, when you were on the pilgrimage for your own film here, did it influence the screenwriting? Did it influence the story, or had there already been a draft by that point when you went on that pilgrimage?
There'd already been a draft, but it definitely definitely freed up the writing to kind of really get in there and just add detail, and to kind of write with more confidence, I think, and just really kind of get into the scenes and know exactly where you're going and what it looks like where you are. That was all really helpful.
I bet. What is your process then when you're screenwriting? How do you do it? Do you go into scriptment, or is it different every time?
It's sort of different every time. I generally tend to start with very, very detailed character biographies. That's the first thing that I do, so that I know them really well. And then and a lot of the story comes out just without me trying from doing that. And it's kind of led by who they are as people.
Yes, if their favourite colour is pink.
Yeah. There's a reason for it.
Yeah, exactly. Or if there's a toy that they like, or if you can bring that into the story somehow. Yeah.
And then as part of the development with the BFI, I had some sessions with Celine Okwoma, who's a really brilliant script editor. And this happened during the very first lockdown. So we had a lot of time over Zoom. And we really kind of spent hours discussing the girls, discussing their experience, discussing our own experiences of being women of colour in the UK and what it's like. So we actually really went quite deep into that, as well as looking at the story at a very kind of looking at the foundations of the story and the structure of the story as well. So there was a lot of thought went into it, and I did a lot more outlines than I would normally like to do. Normally I want to just get into the script and try it out quickly. Selena was quite strict and she made me do lots of outlines, but I didn't mind in this instance because of the importance of wanting to get this story right, actually.
What was some of the sort of maybe overarching changes sort of influenced by the BFI and those long discussions that you had, like maybe from where the story initially like started out?
It's so strange trying to remember, isn't it? It's like I feel organic, like
isn't it, I suppose?
It's quite organic, and I actually feel like in general the story did not change loads, actually. I think it was the detail, and really the big thing was the structure and the flashbacks and trying to work out where to put the flashbacks and how they would work. And I think it was all of that stuff that was trickier.
But in fact, actually, you only did one draft, really. And then, no, not strictly speaking, but no.
That's going to demoralise our audience.
What happened was
one draft. That's what you need.
But there was, when Suhayla says that she did more outlines than she normally would, there was a huge amount of work actually went into that research and development stage before final draft got opened. In fact, actually, and then when you did open final draft, it was for more of a beat. You did like a scene
breakdowns for a long time.
And then we did that for a long time before you wrote any scenes. But you had your detailed character biography, so you already knew how your characters were going to move through those scenes. But we were just getting the shape of it right and doing all the research. So there was a huge amount, and then there was a draft that she wrote, and then we went on the trip to Turkey. I think also it was a little bit of an elastic schedule because of the fact that it was COVID times. So there was just a lot happening over Zoom and a lot a lot of discussions and trying things. But it was the actual script writing was, by the time we got to a draft, it was pretty solid.
Fairly solid.
It sounds like you put so much work into that first section. And this is great for our screenwriters out there, because as long as you put so much backstory in, as long as you put so much work into the creating of that script or the creating of the characters, then when you get to that first draft, it does become easier.
Yeah, it is.
Because you kind of go, yes, I'm just filling in the gaps somehow. Yeah. The scenes that we've written.
And why people think a certain way and what inspires certain behaviours and habits.
You know how they're going to behave,
Or it just gets you to the next bit. And I don't know about you sometimes, but when I'm struggling with a scene, I'll just maybe leave it blank or don't finish it, and then come back to it, because there's a bit of a scene or a bit of dialogue. I'll go, do you know what, I can't think of that now, I'm going to come back to it, because as long as you get the essence of the scene and then you get to the next scene, that's what's important, and you can tie up that later and you can come back to it and fill in the gaps when you're ready.
It's not being scared to leave stuff that's not quite right, I think, and then you can come back and go over it and fix it later, just a stepping stone.
I think a lot of writers get scared that it has to be perfect first time, but it doesn't.
Oh no,
that's
no,
right shit.
That's what I do straight away. Just get it all down.
Just get it all down, get it done, and then
there is something to be said for just jumping in and doing a first draft sometimes, and then you kind of know where you are, and then you can throw that away and you can see where you need to
see
go.
The structure of it in some kind of form on paper is quite nice to then be able to reevaluate and go back in and surgery.
But you can also get lost in that place, because now you go, well, I've got a script, but it's terrible and I don't know what to do with it.
Yeah. Or you find yourself clinging to it because it's there, and it's actually, that can be really unhelpful. So
I really like this old scene, even though I really shouldn't have this old scene.
So it sounds like you did brilliantly to make this work as a team, that you set up and got this script to, like I say, almost draft one, or it's a really solid draft. So let's just go back to where you were with the co-pros, because a lot of people do talk about co-pros and they find it very difficult. They have many problems along the way that derail the project.
I don't think we've got time.
Well, there you go. That proves there was a lot of these issues, and I've heard of these. But what was it that worked, I suppose, over what didn't?
So the number one thing that worked is that I had the best co-producer in the world. And I think that with Marika, because we really, really trusted each other and really understood what we were trying to do. And also, we were totally transparent with each other about, what it was and how it was going to work and what was not going to work. And I think that was honestly the only way, because, our systems of, financing and legal closing are very, very different between the UK and Italy. So, on paper, we're actually kind of quite incompatible. And so to overcome that, it really takes a commitment and trust. And so the fact that whenever things were going wrong or there were kind of, we hit bumps in the road, that I could just call her and she could call me and say, let's just tell our lawyers to
back off,
skim over that bit, or whatever it is. And it's so it is totally a leap of faith, and I think it really comes back to, it's the same thing we said before, it's all about the people. And if you're sort of you're with the right collaborators, then you can find a way to do it.
Is it a little bit of a chicken and egg, like the sort of the famous cast sales sort of conundrum, like in terms of which co-producer maybe brings finance first, or vice versa, or was that kind of what you're getting at in your previous comment?
No, because basically this is a majority UK production,
right? So
for the funds in Italy to consider it, we already needed to have our national funds committed. So everything was really led from the UK, and those pieces had to be in place first. But having said that, our process sort of takes a long time, and so Marika was able to, even when there were things that I was trying to close and trying to lock down, she was able to make progress on her side, and we were just sort of had a kind of symbiotic relationship where we just had each other's backs and just kind of kept it moving. We had dates that we needed to hit, and we had, so we just had to crack on.
Sounds wonderful.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. When was the moment that you knew you had the green light? The time when you went, oh, this is the date that's happening. Had you put a date on it already, or was it a case of if we put a date on it might move too many times?
No, we did actually put a date on it, and so Nadia, our director, works in theatre, and she's now the artistic director of the Young Vic. She's got a play opening tonight, which is where we're going next.
Yep.
Yes. Jordan Stevens is starring in this,
yeah,
right?
Exactly. Yeah, entertaining Mr. Sloane. Yeah,
he's a superstar.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
John's a good footballer as well.
I kick a few balls about, but Jordan is a great footballer. He's way better than me. But anyway, carry on. It's not about me.
Yeah, so we're going to see Nadia's play, but at the time she was the artistic director of Theatre Royal Stratford East, and that's a big job, running a building and responsible for all the staff. And so in order to make the film, she took a sabbatical from that role. So we had a window. And there's no way that we were not going to
jump through that window.
Yeah.
So we're not going to hit that date.
We're not going to hit it. Yeah.
So at that point you say, oh, well, we've got this date and now you've got to hit that.
So basically it was really the point where I had the BFI funding committed in principle, depending on getting the rest of it together. And then when we got the MIC, the Ministry of Culture, which is the kind of equivalent in Italy, it's their national fund. When we got the minority funding from them committed, at that point I sort of thought, okay, we've still got a way to go, but I kind of know that if we've got our two national film funds on board, plus on either side there are the tax incentives for the local spend. And I just thought we should be able to find a way to make it work at this point. We still had lots of hurdles to jump through still, but at that point I thought, yeah, we're going to do this one way or another.
Amazing. What was some of the main thing you learned about doing maybe this film particularly, maybe the international co-pro side, or maybe something that you've learned that you really struggled with at the time, at any stage of production, if anything sort of springs to mind?
I think for me, it's about that clarity of vision, actually, and holding on to that, and not being scared. And I think actually doing the thing that scares you. Don't shy away from
leap into it,
from doing the thing that you're a bit scared of.
So much. Honestly, I've learned so much from making this film. It
sounds like a whole new podcast.
Yeah, it's really hard to think about one thing. But I guess, just coming back to that collaboration point, that we sort of always just had a very, very, very open channels. And I think that I feel like the whole project is kind of enriched from the fact that there was never an ego that was leading the charge. There was never, I mean, I guess in a sense it's that the sort of the story and the project was bigger than all of us. And so it was, it was just a really nice process and really liberating that we could just let the best idea wins. Like every time we could stand back from it and let it breathe.
That's what you always hope for, isn't it? Sort of that it's not just one person's, opinion sort of pushing in. It's actually like, if this idea is great, then let's take it. And if not, then let's move in another direction, and being able to be open with each other about things that you're not sure about and move with the best idea. I mean, that makes the best story.
It's exactly what you talked about. It's the team and the collaboration, and how looking at that, that's what makes filmmaking great and important, and what you want to do with a film. That's what you do if you've got a great producing partner. And having those great people around you does feel great because they're pushing you in the right direction. And my final question to you then, Nicky, in terms of working with first-time directors, when people come to you with projects, what is it that you look for? What is that you bring or hope that they bring to the table?
I think that I've got to really feel and understand their passion for what they want to do. And I think also I've got to have a sense, I mean, the hardest thing really to do with a first-time director is to be able to convince everybody else, specifically financiers, and sometimes it's, cast and agents, to convince everybody else that they're in safe hands and that they're going to deliver. And so I think the first step really is that person has to be able to convince me. And so I have to really feel from them their passion and their commitment to it, and just get excited by what it is that they want to do. And I think, normally if they can convince me, then I know that I'll be able to find a way to convince everyone else. So, yeah.
So Brides is out in cinemas this Friday, or now, if you're listening to this on Friday. So do go support, do go see it. It's a fantastic film. It deserves your attention. It's incredible. Independent movies, go watch it, go support. Yeah, go see it on the big screen. Nicky, thank you so much. Suhayla, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
Lovely chat.
Lovely chat. And if you're lucky enough to rise up and do well, it is your duty to
send the elevator back down.
We'll see you next Tuesday. As always, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
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 Oh, that's nice.
That was great. You two were brilliant. What a great chat that was.
Thank you.